allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This letter? This letter?
Yeah.
It came to my email today.
Thank you. I want to welcome everyone to our March 7th meeting. Please note the council's in full attendance, and I want to welcome all our citizens here. The first item on our agenda is items from council. Anybody have anything? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move into citizens' communication. So now is the time, if anyone would like to speak, come forward and just the usual, limit your comments to 5 minutes out of a courtesy to others. Not too many people here tonight. Okay, so seeing no one get up, we'll close citizens' communications. Ordinances, none. We do have a consent agenda.
There are 3 items on the consent agenda tonight. They'll be approved by a single vote. They are first, the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of February 21st, 2017. Second, a resolution approving the purchase of a set of battery-powered Jaws of Life tools from Metro Fire Apparatus Specialists Incorporated in the amount of $32,150, utilizing a government cooperative purchasing contract, authorizing the city manager to execute all documents necessary to complete the purchase and declaring an effective date. And the third is a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a renewal of the annual supply contract for limestone base with CEMEX Incorporated in the amount of $22.63 per ton for a total of approximately $181,040 based on an estimated annual quantity of 8,000 tons and declaring an effective date.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay, all the items passed. Resolutions.
Item E2 is a resolution to approve a resolution, discussing and approving a resolution to approve the optional redemption of the City of Victoria, Texas Pass-Through Toll Revenue Limited Tax Bonds, Series 2011, maturing on August 15th, 2028, calling such maturity for early redemption, and approving and authorizing the execution and performance of all documents and procedures related thereto, and declaring an effective date.
I'd like to make a motion to approve item E1.
I'll
as
second.
presented.
We have a motion. So you did say E2, did you not? Okay. that's
Did
all
I
right,
say
Thomas.
E2?
That's all right.
I thought he was skipping me.
Yeah, that's all right.
All right, no, that was item E1.
It's
Thank
a
you.
short agenda.
The
We're
caption
always-
that I read was E1.
Yeah, that's okay. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any questions?
What
Discussion?
is the projected payout if we stay the same?
Thank you. I'll give you a little background on this, and then I'll circle back to that question.
Okay,
But
thank
as you
you.
recall, these bonds were issued back in 2011 to help fund the construction of the Loop 463 overpass project that was done in conjunction with TxDOT. They were issued back then on a standard 20-year amortization. And then part of the agreement with TxDOT is that once the construction was done, they would start reimbursing us on an annual basis. We would take those reimbursements and make the current slated debt service payment along with using any excess funds in that year to basically pay off the latter part of the maturity, thus shrinking it. The plan back then and the amortization schedule that's included in the packet, I think it illustrates it, but the plan called for paying that off for approximately 11 or 12 years. And if everything goes according to plan today, we expect to have those paid off in 2022. So,
Cool. Great.
so again, the
Don't you love it
resolution.
when plan comes together?
Again, the resolution before you would authorize the redemption of that 2028 maturity in the amount of $650,000. Just a note, if it is approved tonight, we'll give notice to the paying agent tomorrow to begin that process, and they'll actually be paid off in April of this next month. So if there's any reservations, I would think we need to get those clear tonight, and then if not, we'll proceed with that notice first thing in the morning and move forward with that.
Well, another bit of history, I'll be the historian here, please excuse. But at the time, TxDOT had no money. And the only way that this could be done is do this one time only. And matter of fact, this program no longer is available if we tried to use this now. But it was a program where they allowed us to float bond, but it was not added to our debt ratio. Is that correct, Gil? I'm sorry? Yes. It is part of the debt ratio. Anyway, we were able to get this done, and otherwise it would probably have been 2028 before they'd even looked at it, the way things were going through the MPO, and there just wasn't any money to be had. So it worked well, worked like it's supposed to. And we got those bridges, it increased the safety a lot, particularly at Salem Road, because it had a curve there, and people never could figure out the stop sign issue there either. And it seemed to, anyway, it's been a great thing.
Agreed. Any further comments? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, thank you. E2,
Let's see if I can get it right this time. E2 is a resolution rescinding the contract award for the downtown water and sanitary sewer replacement to Palacios Marine and Industrial Coatings Incorporated of Palacios, Texas, and declaring an effective date.
Make a motion to approve item E2.
Second.
okay. Motion second, are there questions?
I just want to make a comment, and I've talked to Mrs. Garrett and Mr. Short about it. This did have a 5% bid bond attached to it, and make sure everybody's aware of that, so that after we, or if we approve this, then we will go to the insurance company and get that 5% that was attached to this for their non-performance of the contract, which was a guarantee provision of the contract. So it will help us to defer costs associated with going back and rebidding the project.
Okay.
And if staff would let us know to make sure when we do get that. I don't suspect a problem with the insurance company, but that'd be nice. If y'all think about it, just let us know to make sure it actually does occur.
Well, we have issued projects to them in the past, right?
Oh, yes, ma'am. They're
Okay.
currently doing 2 sets of projects for us now.
Okay.
They just, the owner, after several months of not going ahead and executing the contract, the owner called me and said, there's no way, I can't do it. My suppliers won't hold my prices, and I just can't do it. So,
Okay, well, hopefully you'll get a new bid, a good price when we get around to it. Any further questions? If not, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay.
E3 is a resolution declaring support for action to exclude from the Victoria County Drainage District Number 3 land and all other property falling within the city limits of the city of Victoria, and declaring an effective date.
Well, for discussion, I'll move to adopt.
I'll second.
Motion is second. Because this is kind of originated with me, I mean, if you guys would like, I can review the background again real quick. I'm sure y'all have lots of questions. I did leave in your, I brought this up at our last council meeting, and of course, inserted 4 pages in each of your read file that hopefully you had a chance to get to. It had maps and
Yes.
a copy of the letter that I sent to the Drainage District, and then some summary of actions. We've only had, so far, we've been in this meeting 10 minutes, so we were joking about how long this might take. We have time to talk about it. You also have a map, I think, Jeff, you requested this, thank you for that, which shows the drainage basin overlays in color, which is a very, it's a great extra tool. This issue, of course, in Victoria County, there are 2 drainage districts that operate, 2 and 3. There used to be a 1 and 4, but they are no longer in operations. Drainage District 2 is down by Bloomington. And 3 actually overlays and encroaches inside the city limits. And over the many, many years, there's a lot of history, a problematic history with Drainage District 3 and the fact that the citizens of Victoria fund pretty much all their operations. Of the assessed value within Drainage District 3, about 82% of it is within that small section in the city. So essentially, city taxpayers are paying the bulk of the annual budget, which is, I want to say $650,000 a year. And so going back as far back as the 90s, when I used to sit out there, I know councils would argue and fret over the fact that we tried to get the Drainage District to do some work in the city. There was always problems. There never was an agreement. And I started looking into this back in October 2015, and we've made multiple attempts to meet. I did meet with the board of the Drainage District back in October 2015, so this is not something I'm doing, fly by night. And we received some indication they'd be willing to do the work. And then at some point, staff actually met with Drainage District 3. We were able to get them to do one mowing project for us, but typically, the response has been that they don't have the right equipment, et cetera, et cetera. And staff can certainly disagree if that's not, I think Lynn Short met with them, city manager met with them. So my goal here is to get equity, is to somehow, if city residents are paying the majority of their budget, city residents need to get a little bit more direct benefit. I certainly don't expect 82% of their budget to be spent inside the city limits. I'm aware of how the drainage district operates. Also, I want to point out that it's obvious too that the city, due to what's called impervious cover, parking lots, streets, rooftops, create a lot of that rainfall that goes into that drainage way. So I know we contribute significantly, but the city also has taken upon itself at our taxpayer expense to build a detention facility right there on Airline, which we've have
Pretty much the largest one around.
2.5 million invested in that in the last 15 years to mitigate some of that flooding. So I really, even though the wording, let me say this, even though the wording of this resolution says to just literally draw them out, I'm not sure that'll be the end result, because let me say this, I started questioning our legislators in Austin about it. Attorneys up there gave me an indication that they could do that. The legislature could actually just redraw the boundaries. Now, I don't have that on 100% yet. I've also had some people tell me the legislature could not do that. But after several years and multiple attempts of trying to get them to do what we would consider an equitable amount of work in the city, we just can't get there. And that's what led me to this. Now, our Senator Colcourt's office asked for a resolution before they would consider redefining boundaries. So that's where this is. They've also asked for if I could get a resolution from the county. So I did visit the county commissioners Monday at their meeting and explain all my logic and I was there to just simply request a resolution be placed on next Monday's agenda. I don't know if that will occur or not, or how if they put it on their agenda, I'll certainly go visit with them about this. The end result, though, just remember, this resolution doesn't mean they may actually get drawn out. It just says we're going to make that attempt if need be. Now, I have been asked, will we work with the Drainage District again to try to come up with a compromise? My answer is yes to that.
Absolutely.
But we're going to sit down and have either a contract or a memorandum of understanding with very specific duties we expect them to perform. Either they do the work or they reimburse our contractor for some of the work, which would be preferable as well. I would be satisfied with that. So, but I still want to ask for the resolution to continue moving forward. Tom, did you have?
Oh, I did have a question, and that would be, of course, they keep minutes of their meetings and so on. Can you ever find a point in time where they said that we're not going to do work inside the city limits?
Can I answer that?
No.
Can I answer that?
Surely, surely.
I've spoken to all the county commissioners. I do the books for them. Never have they said that they would not work with the city. Okay?
But they just haven't, rather than it was not a resolution or anything, is that correct?
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay.
And it's not their intent not to work with the city.
Okay.
We just have a new slew of commissioners, and I've been doing the books since 1990, Mr. Palazzo.
Okay,
For the
So,
Drainage District?
For the Drainage
Okay.
District.
okay.
Never have they been contacted, except that one time you told me, and they did Lone Tree Road.
Well, I met,
That's good to know.
I met with them October 5th, 2015. In December, Charmel Garrett and Lynn Short met with them. We sent a letter February 23rd, 2016, got no response. And we have a copy of that letter. Then, of course, We made contact with city staff, with members of the drainage district, and they did do the one mowing job for us.
Right,
Now, this is over, well, what is that, 2.5 years?
okay.
This is not something I'm taking lightly, and it's not something I've done in the last 30 days. This has been
Okay,
going on
well,
for
I
a
mean,
long
I
time.
know as much history as you do, and I have a couple of comments that I want to make.
I would imagine you know more history, no disrespect, since you work for them. I'm just reciting my interactions with them.
Okay. The Drainage District provides miles and miles of service to Victoria. It's not just the county. If you ever draw a ditch with your hand, even with your hand in rainwater, if you don't draw that line all the way to where you want it to exit, it's not going to drain. That's what the Drainage District does. It goes all the way to the county, and from the county on, they take the water out to the source wherever it's going to drain. If we didn't have that service, we would have a backlog in all the areas of town where they service. And that's only my, primary, way of doing it, because when I was little, I used to play with the water and watch it run. If you put a stop in the middle of that water, it's not going to go nowhere. You're going to flood this area, and you're going to have water going this way, and that will be dry, but this will be all wet. That's number one. Number two, why are we going to stop with the Drainage District? Why don't we go with Drainage District number 2? Not everybody benefits from that. The college, not everybody benefits from that. The Victoria Independent School District, not everybody benefits from that. Are you going to cut them too? What about the Navigational District? Okay?
I'm going to answer that. Now, this drainage district is in the city. City taxpayers are paying the taxes. Let's make one thing very clear. I'm not dissolving the drainage district. They can certainly raise their tax rate on the remainder of the taxpayers that get the direct benefit.
I
Let's be
understand.
honest, I'm not
Understand.
dissolving that. I'm
Just
not
like
asking-
we don't like to raise the tax rate for our constituents here in town,
Right.
they're not going to want to raise theirs. I mean, they're already getting taxed by the Drainage District and everybody else. I mean, the Navigational District, we all pay those taxes. Okay? Just because we don't derive a benefit from it doesn't mean that we're not going to pay it. What are you going to do, draw district lines for the people that have their kids in private school or that have their kids out of school? Number 3, you went to the county courthouse as the mayor, not as a single member, and you represented all of this entity here. In the past, any communication with the county was done between the city manager and the county judge. And, I don't agree with you having done that before we sat here and discussed it here in this kiosk.
I did. I
I
brought
know
it
you
up
did,
at
but
the
you didn't
last-
tell us that you were going to go over there. You told us that you were going to bring this to our meeting, and you took it over there before we even had a chance to talk.
Okay, let me make one other thing clear. I talk to the county judge very often about many issues. I'm just saying, just an FYI.
Well, I know, but, the way the paper represented it, it seemed like we had already discussed it here, and you went over there and told them, yeah, this is what we want
You
to do.
need to talk to the paper about that then.
Okay. But those are my concerns.
James, would you be able to pull up the GIS map and put it on the screens? Mr. Goosh had it up here, so I had to pull it up. It explains a lot of that drainage district, and if you just turn on the base map with the floodplain on it, he can see what it all encompasses. And I understand what the mayor's concern is about this district, and I think that there should be some type of agreement between us and the drainage district where we could get some reimbursement for mowing or whatever it might be in the ditches in Victoria that drain and start this water basin. But my fear in supporting this resolution, it's right now, I don't know the hydrology enough, but I know that with all the water that's going to start flowing downhill, if they don't have the funds to maintain all the waterways that take this water away, that it will cause some upstream effect. I can't quantify that, and I can't say that it's going to happen, but I can't say it won't happen. And until I have more information, I don't feel comfortable saying the way the resolution's written that we want to carve everything out of the
Do you-
city limits.
And I can appreciate that. Do y'all want to change the wording of the resolution? You can amend it.
Well, that would be a question I would have as well. Has there ever been any hydrologic studies done on this?
I've got probably
I
more.
would assume they'd have to been somewhere.
Yeah, so
Probably
this,
really old if it is.
thank you, James. This map up here that you can see, you'll see as the water flows out of the city in the Lone Tree Creek Basin, and then there's one by the airport, another basin. All that makes its way down to Palacios Bay. In my understanding, in the limited time that I've looked at this, the drainage district is supposed to be keeping clear all these creeks, ditches, everything else to make sure that the water can get down to the bay. And I don't know what rates on, the county residents would have to extend to keep those waterways open, but we are, in the city limits, part of that drainage basin. But
No doubt. It'd be
Yeah,
great if
they
they'd
need
help us
to-
out and do a little work in here too.
yes, I think so. But I don't think this resolution will get us to the table to work. I don't know what will, and I know you've worked this issue a long time and have some frustrations getting them to the table and getting it done. I think the best thing we're doing right now is shining some light on it and saying, we need some work done in the city based on, 80% of your revenues coming from the city. Certainly, like you said, not gonna be 80% of the work needs to be done in the city. But I would like to see even, what would it take to get a city resident on their three-person board? Is that something that needed to run for?
Oh, yeah, that's
Is that
all been
something?
Not
brought
very
up.
advertised well in the city, that drainage
Yeah.
district is there. I'd like to see, even if it, in their bylaws, that someone has to be from the city. Make it where it has to be from that tax base. Don't know if that's possible or not either.
Districts, create districts. I don't know. I don't know if they have bylaws. I have not been interested in their internal operations necessarily. I'm aware that there are elections. I don't recall there being an election in recent times. Josie, do you know
No, they didn't have one this year.
why did they not have one? I mean, I don't understand.
I don't know for sure, it's just that it was something that they had the three commissioners and they
No one,
didn't.
maybe no one filed or something.
Right.
Okay.
I have a question. Pardon my voice, it left a while ago. How much money do we spend to mow the ditches in Drainage District Number 3? Because all the residents of Victoria pay for that, as well as the people that live in Drainage District Number 3 are paying some additional. But, and I think I've asked, so Lynn maybe have the answer, to about how much we spend to maintain these. Because I'm thinking that may be another way to go.
Yeah, if you take our drainage mowing contract and pull out all the areas of the Lone Tree Creek Basin that fall within the Drainage District 3 there, it amounts to about $165,000 a year. Now, that number includes the hike and bike trail as well as the actual detention facility itself. So if you took those out, you'd be down to, still amounts to $120,000 a year. That's out of the total $309,000 a year we pay for drainage. So it's a goodly portion of the $300,000 that we pay every year for mowing drainage ways.
And that's 4 times a year on most of those?
Well, it depends. It's broken up into sections. Some of it's 6 times, some of it's 2 times. So a lot of it's 6 times a year. So it depends on which section it is. Some of it's residential areas get mowed more often, obviously, for, some for aesthetic reasons.
Right.
And the number one more time?
165,000,
I think he said that it was 120 if you take out the hike and bike trail.
120 if you take out the
So
hike
we're
and
looking at 120 is what we need to get reimbursed.
Why would you take out the hike and bike? You mean on top or?
bike. Yeah, up on top, the trail itself.
That's not related to the
'Cause it-
drainage?
Right, and it gets
Okay.
mowed very often
Right.
for
Okay.
aesthetic reasons.
Well, I received an email, and I think probably all of us did, but I found it and I'm bringing it up, from the Drainage District. And they're talking about obviously not wanting to be taken out of the city portion. But their last statement is, it is also the request of the Victoria County Drainage District Number 3 that no other work inside the city limits will be performed without an interlocal agreement in place that establishes the roles and responsibilities of both parties. That's a lot of my thought process in asking this amount, because I don't think that we would want to not have the maintenance of the ditches inside the city limits at the level that we currently have them. But I think that doesn't make sense to have two different entities both having responsibility for the same maintenance. So it makes sense to me to somehow create an interlocal agreement that spells out the burden, whether they reimburse us because we've got the equipment or we have the contract, or whether they take the responsibility to take on contracts. We may not have the equipment either. We have us contractors that do it.
So would this council agree, because understand this is not recent, as I've said, this has gone on and on for decades. So would a good resolution, can't ask for just maybe a consensus, if they agreed and we created that interlocal agreement to reimburse that portion of the contract, would that be fair to the taxpayers that live in Victoria city limits that reside inside that drainage district, in y'all's minds? Because we can work towards that end.
I think so.
I think so, but I think
Okay.
I would still like some city resident on that board to make sure just that they're
Okay.
represented for their tax money.
You can certainly
Perfect well,
go,
that's where we'll be in the future, but
Yeah.
right now, we don't have that.
Right, but there's
but
an
I-
election coming up, but I'd like to see if their bylaws would support having a member represented from the city, especially with 80% of their tax funds. To me, it's almost taxation without representation. And I want someone that's there on that board and understands what's going on within that drainage district, and everything's being done by the book, and the right waterways are getting taken care of, and
I'm in complete agreement. I'll leave that project to you. If you can, maybe they'll amend their laws and put a council member on. I don't know, but I tell you what, now, understand this, and I would ask one of you just to table this, okay? And we will go, and we will ask for that interlocal agreement with that number. But understand, if we have problems and it doesn't, it's gonna come back here, and I will deal with it. I'm just being extremely firm. This is not new to me. It may not be new to some of you guys, but perhaps now, and Mr. Bachnight very accurately, what was your word? The resolution may not be the answer or may not work. I think it has. If
shine
you know
light
what I
on the
mean.
situation.
Okay?
Well, it notifies them, puts them on
We
notice.
we can reach out to them, and I will, if a council member wants to sit in that meeting, perhaps, staff can organize it, and maybe come up with that interlocal agreement draft and let them look at it, and see if it's something they can agree to. And if not, we'll come back here and talk about it some more.
I'd support you however you need me to, Mayor.
I move
Okay.
that we table.
You want to, okay, make a motion to table, is that what we need? Sure.
Second.
Well, the other point I'd like
Okay.
to make,
Done, I guess.
just for, this
Okay.
thing goes out past our county, goes all the way to the bay,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
It's all inside the city. the
Remember, we
county.
touched the bay,
Yes, we do.
and that's
And
where
it
it's
goes-
going.
Okay. And so, but I mean, we have a lot downstream, as Councilman Solis mentioned. And when it backs up, it backs up. And we need a drainage district. But it's how the allocation of funds is the real question that we're dealing with at the moment.
Yes.
Okay. So we have a motion and second to table. We need to vote on that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And I guess I kind of cut off conversation, and the meeting's gone longer than we thought, but, okay, we're through with that issue. We have one city manager report.
Daryl's going to introduce the new waste management management person. Raymond Franks retired at the end of the year.
Raymond retired. He's been doing a lot of fishing. We talk on a regular basis. So, but what I want to do is, tonight I want to introduce Shanna Lopez. Shanna is taking Raymond's place. She will be handling the City of Victoria contract going forward. We've already dealt on several things, but it was important for her to for y'all get to see who she is in case that you have contact, whether it be TML or issues, you know, that we need to work through. So with that, I'll let Shanna say a few words.
Hi, Mayor and Council. I'm glad to be here tonight, and I'm very glad that I get to be part of Victoria, and hopefully we can bring some things, recycling, you know, some new stuff. And I have a different way of approaching things than Raymond did, so we have a little bit different mindsets. But hopefully you'll like the technology that I can bring, and I'm looking forward to working with each and every one of you. And like Daryl said, there's already been several things that we've brought up, and I think that the main thing that it's communication. So we do have a new district manager, and unfortunately he couldn't make it here tonight. But we'd like to introduce him as well to council in the future, and I look forward to working with each and every one of you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And if Daryl gives you any trouble, just call her. She'll straighten him out.
I've been instructed not to do that, sir.
All right, okay.
He went way too willingly.
Well, we wish him the best. If we have no further business, we are adjourned. Thank you.